After Maxwell trial charging conference, AUSA Comey cites Ambiguity and Who Traveled for Sex by Matthew Russell Lee Patron song video ruling BBC, Decrypt, Light Read, Radio, Podcast, SDNY Courthouse, December 19. Ghislaine Maxwell, charged with sex trafficking and other charges, is nearing the end of trial that started on November 29, after the November 23 final pre-trial conference. Vlog here. On December 18 in a rare Saturday charging conference, Inner City Press learned a bit more about Maxwell's legal team. Laura Menninger came and left, presumably preparing her closing argument for December 20. On Sunday, December 19, with the draft charge still not in the docket, AUSA Maureen Comey wrote in, including the government respectfully submits this letter regarding the jury charge. The government notes one point, which is not the result of an error but which is a significant ambiguity that the government identified while reviewing the court's revisions. In instruction number 19, the second element reads that the defendant transported the individual with the intent that she would engage in sexual activity for which any person can be charged with a criminal offense under New York law, as alleged in the indictment. It is ambiguous whether the she in this sentence refers to the defendant or the individual. The government proposes that the court replace she with the individual. See Instr. Number 21, letter on Patron here, on September 18 in the front row of the gallery, next to Maxwell's brother whom Inner City Press has asked about the United Nations out in Foley Square, was a woman who handed him her cell phone and pointed at it, prompting a remasking. See below. The woman with the phone was Leah Safian, whom others have written about in connection with Maxwell's In-N-Out burger photo. But Safian, while not having filed any notice of appearance in the docket, does appear in docket number 248, in which Bobby Sternheim wrote on Saturday, April 24, 2021, Leah Safian, Esquire and I attended a pre-scheduled in-person legal conference with Ms. Maxwell in the MDC. The entire 2.5-hour conference was conducted under the constant watch of 4 to 5 guards, including the lieutenant, with a camera on a tripod focused on Miss Maxwell and counsel while recording audio and video, and captured on surveillance cameras affixed within the visiting room. After counsel left the facility, Miss Maxwell called me to report that her legal papers were confiscated. How large is Maxwell's legal and other team? Watch this site, and #MaximumMaxwell. On October 29 and again on November 12, Maxwell and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York filed a flurry of motions in limine, heavily redacted. The government argued that trial exhibits are not public and will be withheld. Inner City Press opposed and opposes the continued secrecy. And CDC op-ed here. On December 16. After a 3-day hiatus as Judge Nathan went to D.C. seeking to D-Circuit seat, Maxwell's defense began, with her executive assistant Cimmerly Espinoza. Inner City Press live tweeted here, 8:45 a.m. live stream here, podcast here. On the afternoon of December 17, the defense rested, and Ghislaine Maxwell said there was no reason for her to testify because, she said, the government had not proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt. After Eva Dubin, Inner City Press live tweeted here, podcast here, midday live stream here. On Saturday, December 18, Judge Nathan held the charging conference, at which references to the defendant were changed to a more ladylike Miss Maxwell and foreign travel and the word minor were dropped and replaced. Inner City Press live tweeted here, and below, pre-conference live stream here, podcast here. After the conference, AUSA Maureen Comey wrote to Judge Nathan to make 2 points. That the felony convictions of Caroline and her ex-boyfriend Sean should not be highlighted, and nor should the issue of the defense not calling witnesses like Epstein helper Sarah Kellen because the defense can't offer immunity. Full letter on Patron here, from the charging conference, OK, in USV. Ghislaine Maxwell. It's the Saturday charging conference to argue how the jury will be instructed before they deliberate on Maxwell's fate. Maxwell's lawyer Everdell. Here it says between the U.S. and a foreign country, that should be out. AUSA, fine, note, now it's Menninger huddling in the corner with Ghislaine Maxwell, who is speaking with her hands, whispering through mask but gesticulating. Everdell, in the title, we'd like to change minor to person under 18. AUSA, the indictment says minor, but we are not seeking to send the indictment back with the jury. Judge Nathan, so you are in vigorous agreement. Laughter among lawyers. Note, Maxwell's lawyer Menninger has picked up her bag and coat and she's left the courtroom. Everdell is running the show on the jury charge versus AUSA Rohrbach, though AUSA's Laura Pomeratz and Maureen Comey taking and passing copious notes. Everdell, we want the conscious avoidance language out. The record shows people saying their ages. I need to break this into two pieces. There was testimony about multiple females being at the Palm Beach residence. But what ages did they look like? Everdell, Mr. Alessi said he only saw two people who looked underage. Jane says she was 14 or 15 and we say no, she was older. Caroline says, I was such and such age. But we say we made nothing to do with Carolyn. Everdell, maybe Mr. Epstein slipped in a couple of teenagers. AUSA, Carolyn was told to say she was 18. Everdell, Carolyn was told by Virginia to say she was 18. That doesn't have anything to do with Miss Maxwell. Judge Nathan, we're going to include it. Wait, I have a comment on my own draft. The he should be replaced with she. Everdell, there were witnesses with felony convictions. We'd like the sand instruction on the credibility of witnesses. AUSA, we're not aware of this instruction being given in this district. Judge Nathan, I haven't given that instruction. Everdell, maybe on cooperators? Judge Nathan, looks like I have given it as a separate instruction, in U.S. v. Berry, Inner City Press also covered. Everdell, we want the instruction that U.S. but not the defense can offer immunity. One of our witnesses said they would invoke the Fifth. AUSA, Virginia Robert could have been called by the defense. Defense, I'm not referring to her. I'm referring to Sarah Kellen. AUSA Rohrbach. We don't want in closing the argument about the empty chair and why the government is prosecuting. Everdell, let's turn to the verdict sheet. Take out the word minor, put in individuals under the age of 17. Judge Nathan, okay. AUSA, we have one it. Where it's supposed to be, mark your verdict with a check mark, you actually use a T in parentheses. Judge Nathan, laughs, I don't know how that got in there. We'll fix it. Judge Nathan, this should be a 2-hour closing. AUSA Comey, but we have exhibits, so 2.5. Judge Nathan, can you do 30 for the rebuttal? AUSA Comey, I'd ask for the court's indulgence for more. Judge Nathan, 35 minutes, so 5 hours and 35 minutes and the charge. Short lunch. Judge says. Judge Nathan, the charge is 80 pages. My favorite part of the job, reading the charge. Laughs. It should take an hour, so 6 hours and 35 minutes, plus breaks and lunch. Can fit between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. on Monday. Maximum Maxwell, AUSA Maureen Comey, to keep things confidential. During closing some exhibits will only be on the juror's screen, not the public screen. We'll also turn the podium. Judge Nathan, I will work on finalizing the charge, but will it go into the docket story soon? Addendum. Maxwell stayed in the courtroom after some others left. Finally the two marshals escorted her toward the prisoner's door. She stopped on the way and exchanged words with her brother, then continued to the door. On December 10th, leading up to the U.S. resting of its case, Annie Farmer was cross-examined, then her ex-boyfriend and mother testified. Inner City Press live tweeted it here, podcast here, stand up, Mac's sister, and circus. Again, where is the press opposition to all this sealing? And the decision maker? Inner City Press is covering the trial, and all that comes before and after it. Court case cast and Song I, Song 2, Song 3, 5th Song, November 27th Song, December 4th Song, and now December 11th Song. On October 18th the U.S. Attorney's Office opposed the request, saying that the voir dire questions should be asked by Judge Nathan, and that there should only be sidebars on sensitive questions such as those that relate to sexual abuse and media exposure. Full letter on Patreon here. In a conference on October 21st on that as scheduling issues, Judge Nathan denied a request to seal. Inner City Press live tweeted it here, podcast here. On October 22nd the draft jury questionnaire was unsealed and Inner City Press has immediately published it on its document cloud here, including have you or a family member ever supported, lobbied, petitioned, protested, or worked in any other manner for or against any laws, regulations, or organizations relating to sex trafficking, sex crimes against minors, sex abuse or sexual harassment? Photo here. After the death of Jeffrey Epstein in the MCC prison, on July 2, acting U.S. Attorney for the SDNY Audrey Strauss announced and unsealed an indictment of Maxwell on charges including sex trafficking and perjury. Inner City Press went to her press conference at the U.S. Attorney's Office and asked, doesn't charging Maxwell with perjury undercut any ability to use testimony from her against other, bigger wrongdoers? Periscope here at 23:07. Strauss replied that it is not impossible to use a perjurer's testimony, but how often does it work? At 3:30 p.m. on July 2, Maxwell appeared in the U.S. District Court for the District of New Hampshire, before Magistrate Judge Andrea K. Johnston. Inner City Press live tweeted it here. Also live tweeted bail denial of July 14. Here, in the July 3 media coverage of Maxwell, media all of the world used a video and stills from it of Maxwell speaking in front of a blue curtain, like here. What they did not mention is something Inner City Press has been asking the UN about, as under UNSG Antonio Guterres with his own sexual exploitation issues, exclusive video and audio, it got roughed up and banned from the UN. Ghislaine Maxwell had a ghoulish United Nations press conference, under the banner of the Terramar Project, here. On July 5, after some crowdsourcing, Inner City Press reported on another Ghislaine Maxwell use of the United Nations, facilitated by Italy's permanent representative to the UN, UN official Nikhil Seth and Amir Dossal, who also let into the UN and in one case took money from convicted UN briber Aung Lap Seng, and Patrick Ho of SEFC China Energy, also linked to UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. At the Ghislaine Maxwell UN event, the UN Deputy Secretary-General was directly involved. List of, some of, the participants on Patreon here. Inner City Press has published a phone of Maxwell in the UN with Dossal, here, but the connection runs deeper. Dossal with 25 years of UN involvement was on Terramar's board of directors, one of only 5 directors, only 3 not related to Maxwell by blood and name. The directors, Ghislaine Maxwell, Christine Molina Maxwell, Stephen Haft, Christine Dennis and Amir Dossal. Inner City Press is publishing this full 990 on Patreon here. Dossal has operated through the UN Office of Partnership, with Antonio Guterres and his deputy Amina J. Mohammed, here, and the links to the world of UN bribery, including Antonio Guterres through the Gulbenkian Foundation, runs deeper. More to follow. Antonio Guterres claims he has zero tolerance for sexual exploitation, but covers it up and even participate in it. He should be forced to resign, and or have immunity waived. Terramar has been dissolved, even though Maxwell's former fundraiser, Director of Development Brian Uricic still lists the URL on his protected Twitter profile, also here. But now Inner City Press has begun to inquire into Ghislaine Maxwell's other United Nations connections, starting with this photograph of another day's, or at least another outfit's, presentation in the UN, here. While co-conspirator Antonio Guterres has had Inner City Press banned from any entry into the UN for 2 years and a day, this appears to be in the UN Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC, chamber. We'll have more on this, and on Epstein and the UN. Watch this site. The case is US v. Maxwell, 20 CR 330, Nathan. To find out more, please follow the links on screen and in the description. Together, let's make sure justice is served.